Club puts down hard stones. People complain about flat tires on bicycles because of the sharpness of the stone. So trying to find some compromise between the cutting edge and keeping them in the track.
Yeah.
The other comment, I have two others. There's two side windows into the bathrooms. I assume that's going to be a tinted glass or a muted or a non-see-through glass looking into the bathrooms.
You are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought there was an abbreviation there that I thought that meant privacy glass. And my only other comment is you've got kind of a Greek Revival colonnaded front of the building and Victorian brackets going up into the roof. I really like the columns, but considering that kind of classical look you've created with that, the brackets are really not necessary. Now it's like confusing two periods of architectural history.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration.
Okay.
So now it'll just look like a Greek temple instead of a Victorian. It'll look like a Greek temple instead of a Victorian Greek temple.
A very small Greek.
Yeah. I think this design it's simple, it's very straightforward, and as a bathroom, I guess it's absolutely necessary. Right.
Yeah, and it will replace the temporary facilities that have been erected at the very front of the park every year. So this will negate that need.
I live right around the corner on Michigan, and I think it's going to be a wonderful addition. I go by that park so many times. You see it so filled with children. This is necessary, and my only other question was with Tom's about the bikes, but I think it's a really good idea and I'd like to see it happen.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I would just like to comment that I think it's important, and I appreciate that you considered the historic nature of this, even though you literally didn't have to. I mean, you're required to maybe for this money, but even without that, it's really a nice design.
Thank you very much.
The whole city basically is a historic district. It's just that one little piece of it is controlled by the city.
Right.
Big piece.
Yeah, well, relatively speaking.
So, this advisory, do I have a motion?
Move to grant approval of the application to the extent that we render an advisory opinion. So I guess we'd say move to grant an advisory opinion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Coxwell. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Coxwell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Thank you. Next order of business is Wenzel, 105 Queen Street, Block 1096, Lot Number 1, non-contributing demolition. It's listed separately, but we deal with them one at a time. The next item is Wenzel, 105 Queen Street, Block 1096, Lot 1, non-contributing for a new house. So we have a demolition and we have a new house. So. Yes, push the
Gotta
button.
show green.
You get the green light.
Okay. Hello, I'm Steve Fenwick. I'm the architect on this project.
Hi, I'm William Wenzel, one of the owners of the property on Queen Street.
And Karen Wenzel.
Thank you.
Okay, so Warren, you wanted us to start on the demolition? Is that what you said? or-
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so in the package are the photographs of the existing building. They are A8. It's a non-contributing building. It's had additions relatively recent times, so it has no special attributes or benefits. And, you know, I know we have the 9-point checklist, and I neglected to bring it with me. I don't know if Bob has it with him. He
That's
can
why Bob
share it
always
with
keeps a
me.
copy, so he can read it to you like.
Thank you, I appreciate that very much. Dropped the ball there. I should bring everybody into focus. This property is, it's on Queen Street and Kearney. It's on the corner there. Our office did the building next door also on Queen and Stockton. And then we also did a major renovation on Queen and Stockton on the opposite corner. So we're real familiar with that neck of the woods. Bob, can you help me out with the criteria?
Yep. The zoning ordinance section that deals with demolitions is 525-40, and it does set out 9 criteria for the commission to consider on whether they're going to approve a demolition. In this particular case, this is not a move. We're not removing it and putting the property somewhere else. So it's really only the first 7 criteria that come into play
Right.
here. So the first one is historic, architectural, cultural, or aesthetic significance. Does it have any of those?
I think it clearly has none.
Okay. Second is its current and potential use.
Current and potential use, well, it's presently used as a residence. And that's what its potential use would be, I guess, also.
It's a rental property. It's a typical beachfront musty rental property.
Okay. Yeah.
Third is the importance to the municipality and to the extent to which its historical or architectural value is such that its removal would be detrimental to the integrity of the historic property or district.
Yeah, I think its removal would not be detrimental in any way to the historic character of the city.
4 is whether it has such old, unusual, or uncommon design, craftsmanship, texture, or material that it could not be reproduced or reproduced only with great difficulty.
It has none of those characteristics.
5 is the extent to which its retention would increase property values, promote business, create new positions, attract tourists, students, writers, historians, artists, and artisans, attract new residents, encourage study and interest in American history, stimulate interest and study in architecture and design, educate citizens in American culture and heritage, or make the municipality a more attractive and desirable place in which to live.
It wouldn't provide for any of those attributes.
Okay. Would its impact, would it have any impact by removing it on the historic district?
No, it would not.
Structural soundness and integrity of the building and the economic feasibility of restoring or rehabilitating the structure so as to comply with the requirements of the applicable building codes.
Those issues aren't relevant to this application for demolition, and none of them really apply.
Okay, that's all the criteria.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Demolition, do I have, well, again, are there any questions, observations from the commission? If not, do I have a motion?
I have an observation. As I went down and looked at the building today, and I'm looking at the picture of it right now, if this was a new application coming before us, I don't think there's an element on that building that we wouldn't have wanted to change to make it fit into our historic district.
I couldn't agree more.
The size of the windows, the framing of the windows, the roof overhangs.
There's a lot of vinyl.
It's absolutely a very bad fit within all the historic architectural examples we have in the town.
Thank you.
And it's musty.
And it's musty.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve the demolition of the structure.
I'll second Mr. Carroll's motion.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Testa. Ms. Campbell?
Yes,
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business is
Is,
building on that location.
right, right. It's,
Clever how that works.
you have to do the one before the other. Okay, I'd like to describe the,
Excuse me just a second.
yes.
I failed to mention earlier, should anyone have any, in the public, have any questions or comments on any of the applications, if you just raise your hand and come to the stand, we'll hear your observations or comments. So, sorry, back to the,
Okay, okay. So let me try to describe the new building, the new project. Again, it's on the corner of Kearney and Queen, and it's to replace the existing structure just approved for demolition. We start out by looking at the streetscape, the setbacks, and then all the zoning controls, setbacks, height, and building code matters, including flood elevation, which I know is a concern here. So, it's a 2.5-story house over parking garage level. I can walk you through the plans, but the lower level has a garage. There's a foyer. There's 3 bedrooms and a den. And I should mention that there is a pool in the backyard. I know that's always something to be considered here. But it is a big lot, and I should point out that we are not using the FAR that is allotted to us by zoning. We're quite a bit below it. The main living level is above the second floor, where you have a great room, a living, dining, kitchen, and a sitting area. And off to the side is the master suite. And then there's a small floor above, it's labeled the bunk room, on the Kearney side of the house. The elevations of the house on A6 describe the architecture proposed, which is, I see it as a classic shingle-style home. It's a brick base, brick chimney, cedar shingle siding, and cedar shingle roof. We've tried to we recessed the garage doors, we recessed the lower entry, and we tried to accentuate the main entry to the home. I should point out that we do need to go to the zoning board for this project for a couple of reasons, primarily the setback variances. There aren't enough houses on Queen to have an average setback, and we're staying inside the house to be demolished, and we're kind of matching the house on the corner of Stockton and Queen, which we did design. So we need a setback variance there. I could talk more about that in a minute. And there's a fence variance that we're also asking for between the house next door on Kearney and this house. And that, I should point out now, it's a good time to bring up that, this is the lowest piece of ground I've ever worked on in the city of Cape May. At that corner, it's 2.8. I couldn't believe it. It's 2.8. So that when we set the base flood elevation for the first floor, we set it at the lowest point, just so everybody knows that. We set it at the lowest point we can. And then we put, and you can see it on the Queen and Kearney elevations, a low retaining wall in brick. And we've found it really helps a lot in reducing the apparent height of the building.
we have the same problem in other towns we work in, and it really does make a big difference. Okay, so the materials of the building are indicated on A10. So we have the cedar. They're really not cedar, you know, but they call them Alaskan yellow cedar. They're some kind of juniper. It's a stiffer wood than a cedar wood, but they're really nice, and they're much more durable than the cedar roof shingles. And then we have white cedar shingle siding on the walls. The windows, you know, they're the Anderson woodwright windows. They have a nice traditional look to them. I know they're not wood. It's kind of a misnomer, woodwright, but they have a nice profile to them. We have a Geldwin Aurora entry door. It's and then we have a Therma-Tru Classic Craft for the other doors. The paving, we're calling for an E.P. Henry brick stone pattern and also bluestone. I can go over that with you. We have two types of fence. One is around the pool area where we have a higher fence, and then in the front where we have a decorative fence to kind of shield the side of the house and work the side. There's a side walkway in, kind of coming back from the ocean. I think the thing with the setbacks, because I know streetscape's important, is that we put a drawing in so you could see it. We had Steve Martinelli surveying do a contiguous house plan on Kearney, and you could see that their steps, some of them are right on the line, some of them are like less than 2 feet from the line. And so we were asking for a setback. You know, I'm not going to be able to read it. We have a 5 foot, is it? I think, or 6 foot, I'm not sure, to the corner of the entry stair. And then on the Queen side, we're back at 9.94. We still come off, you know, at 45 degrees to the corner of the house, which I should say has a wraparound porch and traditional detailing, open roof rafters at the porch areas. And then if you look at that Martinelli survey, you can see where, oh boy, you know, he doesn't live there anymore. But the one on the corner of Stockton and Queen, that house is really kind of what we're matching with our porch. And the existing house is on that Martinelli survey. I don't know what it says there. I think we're inside of it anyway. We're less than the setback of the existing stairs, and we feel, well, we have to go to the zoning board to get that approval, and we feel comfortable doing it. So we wouldn't design it that way if we didn't feel comfortable with it. And maybe we should talk about the fence, because I know you guys are concerned about that, and your zoning official is concerned about that, and rightly so. So, oh, I don't have it on here, actually. I don't have it on here.
A10 has the fence.
It does? Oh, yeah, but you know, Tom, that just shows the type of fence.
You're speaking of the elevation?
So I mentioned it. You know, we have to go to the zoning board about it. And I did talk to Bill about it, Bill Wenzel. And what happens is the grade slopes down towards Kearney Street very substantially, so that when you get to Kearney Street, and we have a little retaining wall there,
the fence starts to climb up above the allowed height, which is 6 feet. It actually gets to be 7 down there. So maybe what we can do is maybe we can step the top of the fence as we go back.
We're trying to just address the fact that you're playing against two things, right? We're in the lowest point of Cape May, or if not, the hollowest of Frog Hollow there. And we have to build everything up 2 feet, and that would leave a 4-foot fence for privacy around the pool and safety around the pool. And we're under the, hoping to be 5 feet, but that turns into a 7-foot fence, technically speaking, when you measure it. So it's not something we're trying to be greedy about. We're just trying to create a bit more privacy, and we could do it with trees also, but, ideally, we'd like to keep that elevation on the fence, but if there's a compelling reason that you guys think it's harming the town or the aesthetic of that neighborhood, it's not something I want to do. Everything else we've done, we're trying to be dead in line aesthetically, dead in line in terms of the position of the house with the neighbors, trying to build something that looks like it belongs on Queen and belongs on Kearney. So if there's any reason to express a concern, we're open to it.
When you go to zoning on that, just to make sure I understood, rather than stepping the fence to meet that, it would be aesthetically more pleasing to keep the top of the fence level and
go
change the bottom to meet the grade. Wouldn't that?
It's the top of the fence, though, that has the variance, because it's measured from the ground. And we don't, and as we get near the
Okay.
street, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could put a little retaining wall up there and fill it, but then from the neighbor's side, it's still too high, you know what I mean, Warren? So
There's an existing fence there already, too, if you've
I
gone
can
by,
go
you
back
see-
16 feet and then step, and then 16 feet. And I think it'll look good, especially because it has the vertical lattice on the top of the fence, so I can just, and really, 16 feet back, you're past the front of the house. Well, the front of the house is 16-something, the porch is 10.
It's 13 or something.
Yeah, so it won't be a visual like you're thinking. It won't look abrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't slope it. That never works. So I guess I'd leave it open to questions of anybody. It's a lot of information.
Nice interpretation of American shingle stone.
Thank you, Tom.
The gables, the chimney, the spacious verandas, the size and numbers of the windows. That's really quite excellent. Cedar shake, roof, and sides, that you've done a really, really wonderful job with that.
I'm glad to hear you earned
would
his money.
imagine that, considering as some of these very large houses have gone into that area of town, we've had our lives threatened here regularly. So I do think there might be some public comment as to the size of what you're doing, which we
Yeah.
certainly have to listen to.
Sure.
But that's really an issue that the zoning board has to deal with. And when you have a corner lot, you really are at an incredible disadvantage because you have 2 front yards, each with a 20-foot setback.
Right.
And that would make the house very much off the lines of the other buildings on the street, particularly when others are historic and don't have those kind of setbacks. I think it's a really, really handsome job.
Thank you. We
Thanks.
tried hard to, account for the neighborhood. And I mean, we bought that piece of land to eventually move in the neighborhood. We owned it for 5 years. Some of you on the board know we've been here forever, my family, and that's our forever home now. We're going to be moving out of Lower Township and give up the 2 acres, and all the kids grew up there and back in Taylor Lane, but we're going to get into town, and we really wanted to make it be something that we'd be proud of, and it would, your members of the board would be something you'd be excited to see. And we didn't get greedy. We're not trying to get coverage variances. It's a tiny little swimming pool. We just felt like we wanted to do it the right way from the beginning rather than try and play games.
I should point out that, based on your concern, Tom, with size, so people understand, we're allowed to have a floor-to-area ratio of 65%. We're asking for approximately 45%, which is substantially lower. And the way you would fill that, to get it up, you would build the house
Yeah, well, you have
up
to go,
into the roof.
to go up, and
Because
that-
they can't cover anymore.
and-
Cape May, the control is always coverage. That's why you get the strip.
You-
So that would bulk up the house. It wouldn't look as charming as it will in this design. And Bill was happy with that, and Karen.
Pip,
I don't have any comments. I think it's very nice.
Jake,
I agree with Mr. Carroll. Very nice design.
Thank you.
Jim?
What they all said. No, I want to tell you, I think the retaining wall does a really good job of easing what is going to be a significant increase in the view of this house from where things are now to get it up to the top. My only reservation is that and that's well handled at the bottom, and I couldn't even add anything more to what Tom said about the faithful interpretation of the style. It's really, really well done. The retaining wall is a good idea. I think that roof line is going to make it look really bulky, though. It's going to look really tall, despite your attempts to make it a little less obvious. But I note also that this is conceptual approval, and you will need to be back with us, and particularly if your setback issues don't turn out the way you want them to be. You've got a footprint that will have to be moved back into the lot itself. So, but insofar as we go for conceptual, I think it's a really nice job.
Thank you very much.
Corbin?
I have nothing to add.
B?
Oh, I just wanted to say, when I started reviewing the packet today, I thought, why are they tearing down this house? I can't understand. And then I looked at this one and thought, now I know. I think it's beautifully done. I have a question, Steve. I'm neither an architect nor a builder, but in the front, with this marvelous rendering you have 3 single shutters.
Yes.
Is there a reason?
Along the garage side.
The program didn't really call for larger windows, and we just felt it needed a little more dressing, and we actually brought them around the side as well, B. So there's
Okay.
5 as a group at that level only.
I mean, they're attractive. I was just curious as to why.
We kind of kicked it around in the office with his partner, Kevin, too. She asked about it.
Yeah.
Well, what's that about? And it's proportioned to look like it properly fits the window itself.
That's what I was thinking, how to be a
If
proportion.
you're actually to close it, which we
Okay.
won't be doing.
Oh, yeah, it's a full-size shutter.
As the window.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
If I could, on that subject, another way to consider that would be a single awning shutter that would be the size of the window.
Right.
Rather than a shutter that only opens to one side.
Yeah,
And that could be even more in keeping with that style.
thank you.
I would concur with all the comments made. It's really quite attractive. Do I have a motion?
I'm also reluctant. I'll move to grant conceptual approval to the application.
I will second.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Ms. Campbell?
Yes,
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes,
Ms. Bisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate all your kind comments.
See any hands go.
Yeah. 1121 New York Avenue LLC, Block 1117, Lot 25, 26, 27. This is a contributing property, looking at a rear addition, a porch, windows, siding, and steps.
Catherine Lawrence, architect, and this is in collaboration with Will Haverslack.
That's me. I'm Will Haverslack, architect.
Sorry, could you repeat your name, sir?
I am Michael Rock, representing the ownership of 1121 New York Avenue. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming, allowing us to present our proposal for the Cape May house that has been in my family since 1970. My parents, Kay and John, bought the house in 1970. They have 5 children, 2 brothers and 2 sisters that I have. We own the house since they passed away 15 years ago. We grew up working in Cape May, we grew up the summers in Cape May, and our children have spent all this time in Cape May. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, and I'll turn it over to Catherine.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Could you tell me your name again, sir?
Michael?
No, Will.
William Harrislack,
Harris, could you spell that?
Harryslak.
And are you an architect as well?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
His name is on the top of the brochure, the pamphlet. I thought the easiest way to do this is just to go through the application. Michael and Gail want to fix this house up to bring it back to its former glory, because not much has been done in the years that this was built, I think around 1910. So if we were to go to page 3, what we're talking about is asphaltic new roof. We're going to repair all of the wood shingles, and I suspect that the wood shingles will need to be replaced throughout the house. We're going to replace any broken wood trim around windows, soffits, all in kind. And we're going to repair any window trim. And we're going to add in the rear of the house a sort of 4 seasons or 3 seasons room. It will be used all year long, but it's made to look like a 3-season room. We're going to repair wood railings, and on the front deck, we're going to do new epee deck, and then we're also going to do some new deck in the rear of the house. We'll add some wood lattice enclosure, repair any that are broken, and put new in. So if we were to go to page 7, just so that you know, this site is an oversized lot. We have over 10,000 square feet, where normally you're allowed 7,500. We are going to put an addition in the rear of the house. We're not touching the front of the house. If we continue to move on to page 10, 10 is the city's historic survey of the building, and it sort of has 2 names, Foursquare, or these buildings have been referred to as the birdcage buildings. There's about a dozen of them on New York Avenue. They're almost all the same, but over the years they have morphed. People have made changes and added additional porches. If we were to go to page 13, 13, I want you to sort of have the image of your head, so I did not have renderings, but we have a woods shingle house, the front. We have the original shingles on all 4 sides, but over the years, the windows have been replaced with vinyl windows, and we are proposing to put in new wood windows that would be appropriate for this style house. If we continue going through the page to page 14, you can see the rear of the house and the side.
Could I just interrupt for a second? Sorry.
Yes.
On your materials list, under windows,
Yes.
it doesn't really say that, I mean, it doesn't specify what window you're thinking about using.
You're right. At the time, we were only going to repair the broken windows, but we've sort of convinced the owner that it's a worthwhile endeavor to replace. So I can revise this to replace existing windows with gel wind or Marvin.
And eventually we'll need a cut sheet on those, and what we'll be looking for is on a wood window, is that the exterior will be primed. So the cut sheet should show, because both of those companies make a primed wood window and they make a clad.
This is going to be a wood, and I do have a cut sheet in the back.
Okay,
Okay? So we're going to replace it with a wood window as manufactured by Marvin or Gelwind.
And the quantity of windows to be replaced is,
Well, right now, there's 9 windows that we're replacing on the house, and then any new windows would match. So if we go back,
as a, just
yes,
for clarification, the cut sheet that we need,
yes,
will need, whatever window you select, will clearly show that it's a primed wood window.
okay.
Because the manufacturers, they do both. Unfortunately, they call them both wood.
We will issue a cut sheet that says wood primed,
Exterior prime, yes.
okay?
Thank you.
All right. So, let me see where we were, I lost my, okay. So what I like to do when we work on the older homes is I like to walk around the neighborhood and see what other people have done. And that's part of your requirement, is to have photographs of the streetscape. So if we go to page 15, we have pictures of similar houses around the neighborhood, across the street and down the block. If we go to page 16, you can see on the top, at that time, it was approved to have a wraparound porch, the whole house. That's a neighbor's house. And the bottom photograph clearly shows how these houses have expanded in the back of the house. The back of the house is where the kitchen is, and most of these lots were long lots, so there's room to do that. Page 17 is the existing house. So we have a plan, you come in, you have 2 rooms on each side, you go down a center corridor, 2 rooms. And then there's a rear back stair. We are proposing no work other than repair in the front of the house. It's the rear where the kitchen is that we're talking about work. If we continue to go through the existing drawings, take note of page 19, so when we look at the front of the building, you'll see how little has changed. And then 21 is the rear of the building. And now if we start, I'll just go over the plans briefly so that we can understand the elevations and how they work. So what we're doing in the rear of the house is we're pushing out the back of the house. We're adding on the right-hand side a laundry room, a new bathroom. We're increasing the kitchen a little bit more than what it was, and adding a new side steps on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, behind the dining room, we're adding this sort of family room. The intent was to have casement windows that could all open out so that we could enjoy the breeze on a nice summer evening. And then there are rear steps to the backyard leading to a nice big backyard. All of these steps would be made out of teak or epee. All the railings would be wood. On the second floor, we've taken advantage of moving the house out towards the back, and we've been able to add a larger primary bedroom with its own bathroom, because these houses have 4 bedrooms on the second floor, but only 1 teeny-weeny bathroom, which can be quite a challenge when you have a full house. And then the bathroom on the ground floor is added for aging in place. If we go to the next page, which is page 24, you'll see the front of the house. If you compare the front of the house to the existing, other than the fact that we didn't show the shingles, but now we're going to have all new shingles. The front porch is going to remain the same. On the left-hand side, you can see a little pop-out of where this family room is going to go. And you can see some stairs on the right-hand side. So I think when you look at the front elevation, it more or less looks the same as what was before. If we go to the next page, which is 25, you can see the new addition that has been added at the rear of the house. So the basic pyramidal roof is sort of still there, but then we've extended it to the back to add that second, that primary bedroom.
You're moving a little faster than my brain on this for a
Okay.
second, but
Sure,
but I
sure,
just want
sure.
to make sure that we reconcile this. In the page 19 view of the front of the house as existing, you don't show dormers protruding from the left and right side, but they are pictured, and then you show them in the existing front elevation on SU2. So I'm assuming the SU2 is correct.
Yes, we missed the dormers on the
They just
first.
sort of popped out.
Yes, yes, you're right.
But since they're in the picture, I'm assuming SU2. Okay,
Yes.
So in essence, when you're showing that changed facade, it's a facade that had dormers on the roof line
Correct.
to begin with. Thank you. That my brain is now caught up.
All right. So, okay, page 25 we talked about. And then if we look at the two pages, 26 and 27. 26 is the rear view of the house. On the right side is where that four-seasoned, but like sort of a three-season room is. And in walking around Cape May, there are a variety of ways that people have done these sort of converted screened-in porches into three-season rooms. And that's sort of the image that we're trying to portray here is that this room had been like a screened-in porch that now we're making it into a closed-in space. 27 is the left side of the house, and again, you can see the four-season room, windows that will match the windows of the rest of the house. The only difference is in the rest of the house, they're casement, they're double hung. These will be casement windows, but they'll have a check rail, so when you look at them from the outside, they will, when they're closed, they will appear to be double hung. And then finally, sheet 28 is pictures of other enclosed porches around the city. The Washington Inn is the first one on the left, and then there are two others. And we're proposing to do sort of a Philadelphia beadboard underneath the windows in the Four Seasons room. These are cut sheets, but I will make sure of the windows. I will make sure that the windows, the cut sheets say primed wood. And then we go back at the end, and I think we've gone almost all the way around. The one thing that I did want to mention about the rear elevation of the building, which if we go to, let's say we go to the page 27, there's existing brick that is the foundation wall of the basement. We're attempting, and there are brick piers that hold up the front of the building, the front porch. We want to mimic that brick pier look so that the room in the back looks like it was a porch. So we would have a brick, and it's going to sort of help us because the brick is already painted. So you're going to see brick, but we don't have to go through the trials and tribulations of trying to match existing brick.
Are those two condensers you show on the left side, sitting on their platforms, are they exposed now?
There's one that's existing, or do we have two?
Two.
There are
So,
two that
but
exist.
your proposal doesn't show them shielded by anything, and I assume that means they're visible from the street looking along the left side of the building.
They will be shielded.
Okay.
But isn't there a better place for them? You already have this addition that is protruding out. It just seems like
Sure.
Well, that's
moving them to the back or something would be,
let me see the site plan, because
Depends on.
they exist already on that side. I mean, we're going to put new ones probably after we do the renovation, but they already exist on the left-hand side.
So you basically, are you trying to use your same piping? If you have your condensers in the same place, your air handlers have to be connected to them, and I think what you're telling me is that you just want to plug in the new condensers.
I mean, we're going to spend a lot of money, but to have to move completely move these around, we don't want to put them on the right-hand side, because that's where,
put them where?
On the other side.
right now, they're on the left-hand side. They exist on the left hand.
If you put them in the back,
Well, we're sort of hard there. I don't want to have any condensers under any windows.
Okay, we're just trying to get a little straight here in terms of what's there and what's not right now. The existing
So if we go to,
left shows no condensers, yeah.
the existing ones are shown
on page 7,
SU1.
Okay, but the existing left side elevation does not show those condensers, and yet we're saying that they are there now?
yes.
Okay, but they're not on the existing elevation.
They're not on the existing elevation.
Which maybe
They
one
they
reason-
show on the survey. So the question is, I guess, is there any other place that we could put them?
Can I just interject something?
Yes.
The existing condensers,
Speak into a mic,
I'm sorry.
please.
So the existing condensers are seen on the site plan, and they're toward the back of the building. And when I was designing it, I wanted to pull them away from the room that's full of glass, because I think that would be a nuisance. The house is brick. I moved them forward between two windows against the brick. Right now, there's beautiful landscape along there. There's rose bushes and all kinds of things. There's little fences. So if it's a question of hiding them from view, I would prefer to do that than move them in the back, because I specifically wanted to keep them away from the glass room. So I did shift them forward. I did not put them on the as-built survey, but they're on the site plan where Steve Martinelli identified them. So the runs for them will be maybe shorter, because they're probably a little closer to the equipment under the house, but I specifically moved them forward to get them away from the glass addition. I didn't want them in the backyard or around that side.
Because of noise?
Yeah, it's because of noise.
It's going to be a little difficult if you put them anywhere around the casement windows and open them
Well,
up.
that's it.
And
Well,
the
I don't-
condensers are blowing outside your casement windows. Not a great place for them.
Well,
Well, plus that's specifically designed too, so that they can keep it kind of open, even if the air conditioning's on in the house. There's doors that close off the room.
well, the issue is, for me, you talked about landscaping and things. The way it's shown, I'm looking at page 26. No, I'm looking at the first one of 24. We have this addition that's protruding out, which we would prefer that it wouldn't. And then to add insult to that, we have these air conditioning units. So it seems to me that we would need more detail on how you're going to hide that. Because now you've put an addition that's sticking out, that can be seen from the front and from the side yard. And in front of that, you're putting air conditioning units. It just, I think would distract from the house. I mean, a charming house.
Let's not forget that there's a fence. There's a fence on the left side of the house that encloses the yard.
Well, maybe the solution
The landscaping would be a problem.
is to have some kind of a landscaping plan and lattice. It would tie in, it would look more like the foundation and then have lattice and then landscaping. The way it's presented now, it just seems to be sticking out of this otherwise beautiful
Right
home.
now, landscaping hides it for the most part, because that's when we put it. It's only 5 years since we've had air, believe it or not. It's torture up until then, but we did landscape it. So there is some protection, and we would do the same to make sure it wasn't visible by the street.
It's right, if I remember,
I think if you look at page 13, that shows the existing left side of the building, and you cannot see the air conditioning unit.
Well, you can't, but a lot of that's shadow, too. I mean, right, so, I mean,
All right.
you're looking at developed plants, but a lot of shadow from those plants, too. I think it's pretty clear that wherever you stick them, you're going to have to shield them with more from what at least what I think you need to do.
Well, just another thing, that addition in the back is like over 33 feet from the front corner of the house. So the protrusion is only slight as you're driving past the house.
Well,
So you were saying
I'm
it's-
not arguing about the protrusion. It's just that if we embrace the intrusion as an integration into a historic home, if we embrace that, then I'm reluctant to accept the condensers in front of that. Just seems like a little bit of effort. We can figure out how to cover that from the street.
So could you just clarify for me what you're saying? If we were to put lattice and landscaping, kept the condensers where they are now, that would be acceptable, or you still want them to go into the back?
Well, we as a group have to decide.
Okay, well, I'm-
Posing a question. I'm not so excited about their moving forward. It's that now we have, your eye is going to be drawn, when you're on that side of the house, your eye is going to be drawn to this addition, and therefore to the condensers. And so the way to deal with that is to have lattice covering them to begin with, and then landscaping covering the lattice. Seems,
Well, I mean, are you saying, though, Warren, that, I mean, I see two issues. It's the condensers on the platform, but you also talked about the protrusion sticking out from the line.
Well,
Is that still troubling? Because I mean,
I think I can embrace that, and it'll be interesting what the group thinks. I just think if we're going to embrace that, then we shouldn't put condensers in front of it.
now, it involves a longer run, and I have no idea how your piping is really set in, but if you look at the right side elevation of the house and you look at the new stairway, there appears to be room for a set of condensers right to the back of the stairway. That would put them, from the street, that would have them hidden by the stairway. You'd have to run extra piping across your basement to.
Are you talking about where, if we look at the plan on page 22?
I'm looking at page 25, the
Okay.
proposed right side, and I'm looking at the right-hand side of that with the stairway immediately to the right of the stairway, which appears to be pretty much dead space.
In front of the outside shower?
Is that what it is?
No.
No, it would be,
It'd be
he's,
behind us,
no, he's saying right here.
behind the steps.
Right
Is
there.
that- I think he's telling me
Behind the
that's.
steps,
telling me
behind
that's-
the shower.
Are you telling me that's a shower?
Yeah, we have an outside shower to the, if we look at the plan here,
Yeah, well, I may have just created space that isn't there, but
shower.
that's a place one could hide them. I don't want to do away with your shower stall.
Well, we could put it over here. I just need to, can I turn this off for a second?
Yes, but you can't talk.
A nice suggestion. Here's the door. Here's a separate rail from here. Why don't they just have the stairs come down here and put the condensers there?
Yeah, this is the proposed
Yeah, this is
rear elevation.
And they've got room out there. There's no reason for that staircase to go down here and down here.
Yeah.
It could come out here and even that way. And that would be a perfect place to hold
Yeah.
them in the backyard.
And it would be
The
far
shower
enough
stall
away from
comes
the
here off the
casement
back,
windows.
isn't it?
So they're moving them forward.
That's the door to the shower stall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
no, but.
Okay, so, how about under the kitchen windows, in the rear of the house, all the way in the back?
That's what I was just pointing out to Warren. Your staircase that comes off your new enclosed porch and runs alongside of the house, is there any reason that staircase couldn't come out and run along the other side, or just come straight out and put those hidden in that area under the 3 kitchen windows?
Yeah. I think we have enough room with, we did want the stair to go to the right so that it doesn't interfere with any of the windows, but I think that we could put the condenser in between the stair and under the kitchen windows.
And next to the shower stall, now that I see.
Next to the shower stall, right.
I think that would keep everybody happy.
Okay.
There
I
is
would-
a-
I would
there's an
think on the
existing
other-
patio- I'm sorry, there's existing patio that comes off that we want to preserve, if we could. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a nice area to sit, but we can figure that out.
Okay.
Okay, now I have to figure out how to get into the basement. All right, so,
So we are really talking, right, 2 condensers, 2 zones?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
okay, so now if we move them to the rear, we don't have to worry about lattice. We don't have to worry about landscaping because it's all going to be blocked by the staircase.
Well, we hope you'll worry about landscaping.
Okay.
You're saying put them next to the outside shower. How about in that L, where the renovated kitchen, where, between the first window and the L wall?
I think that would be the easiest, I mean, if we're going to move it all the way over, that would be the easiest. See here, behind the stair, underneath the windows, we're going to have a hard time getting maintenance people there. Here,
Corbin, what page are you on?
I'm on page P1.
P1, there's P3. Corbin's always on a different page.
oh,
All the electric service. Shut off so we can't mount them anymore. I'm just saying, like, right here.
why don't we say this? We're going to relocate the AC units to the rear of the house, the exact location to be determined, but it will not be visible from the street.
When you look down on it, that staircase is out away from the house. So you could drop those 2
Right in here.
condensers in that space over the kitchen windows. And that would probably be the
or-
least interference for
or under them.
appearance, privacy, not blowing hot air in your casement windows.
Where are you
It's-
putting it here?
It's in that space between the stairway and the wall of the house,
The back wall.
by the kitchen.
That's plenty of space in there.
Yeah, and they wanted to avoid those
And
the
actually-
casements over here.
Be so hidden in there, you wouldn't even need to put lattice around.
That's right.
I think we should just consider functionally, there's 4 feet there. It's going to be on a raised platform for flood, and you're not going to be able to access it in that wedge of space.
Yeah,
So I think if we focus on the fact that we don't want to see them from the street, and we have the wall back there of the house, and we have a chance to possibly reconfigure the steps.
What kind of tonnage are you talking about on your condensers? 5 ton each?
I
4 or 5 ton? I mean, there's the size differential. Well, you said you have 4 feet max, right?
No, I
So-
said you only have 4 feet to fit in, but you have to physically get a body in there, and it's going to be on a raised platform that's going to conflict with the
Why-
stair risers and.
Again, it's, depends on.
Why couldn't we just put them over here? If we're going to move them all the way, we put them on the right side, next to the shower, next to the stairs, in the backyard.
They're still going to be raised, is that correct?
Yes.
Have to be.
Yeah,
Could you
they'll-
just, Catherine, just swing around and point your pen to where you're going to put them now?
So, from my perspective, I think the most important thing is that they're not seen from the street, right? So if they would be on where you have them now, and somebody could say for sure how they're not going to be seen from the street, then that would be acceptable, to me personally. I mean, that doesn't mean it's acceptable to anybody else.
Particularly care for that either, visibility, and we would do the same thing we've done to the existing house when we put it in. So we would make sure it's screened, so you don't see it from
And
the
to
street.
show
And we
in
have,
plan.
we have some mature plantings that have to be moved, very holly bushes and whatever. So it would be year-round blocked, not a seasonal.
When I went up there today, I didn't even notice them, to tell you the truth. But that doesn't mean, I mean,
'cause-
that's just me.
And
Maybe
then-
I'm
It's because they're not there now.
detail it.
And now they're going to be moved forward
Right.
also.
So can,
I think back by the stair solves the whole issue, doesn't it?
well, they're still gonna be awful high because of
Yeah,
the low
they're
land.
still going to be,
And the staircase drops down, so you're still gonna be seeing them. I think you can work them in the back with just some refiguring of that staircase. Yeah. Can we leave it, you've heard from everybody, and we're
Yeah.
trying to get them back there.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I understand.
rework the staircase a little bit.
Or show a better landscaping, show a landscaping plan.
Well, I mean, I would prefer to show the landscaping, because we are going to be moving a whole bunch of equipment. Since they're existing already on the left, we're only moving them a little bit. But I think I'd like to get a direction from the whole group, and then I don't want to,
There may not be a single direction from the whole group. I see a difference here amongst us.
well, can I ask that we come back to that, and we look at the rest of the design and see if there's
Sure.
anything else before we just focus on the AC unit?
yeah, that's.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are you ready for us to go around the room?
I think I'm done.
Yes, we can go around the room. You want to start? Tom?
Okay, an excellent plan. It's a modest addition in the rear. I think inside and outside, it's going to work well for you, it's going to work well in the neighborhood. Some landscaping plan would be in good order, no matter what you do with the AC. The railing system that I see in the front of the house looks like, at the time the vinyl windows probably went in, somebody put up the cheapest looking railing system out front, which just has none of the massiveness of railing exterior trim had at that period of time. You're saying you're going to repair the railings, matching the same. Generally, when you start repairing rails like that, you end up redoing them. I would strongly suggest, in fact, if you feel like that's going to happen, what we have generally asked people to do is to do 2-inch balustrades with no more than 3 inches between them. Not the 1-inch and 4-inch opening, which you see so much of in town. And try to do a nice, strong top railing on that that takes the jailhouse look away from the spindles, then having a nice railing on top of it. You have to be high, but that helps it pull together.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very good.
And I would, you're going to almost tear them down anyway with
Yes,
everything you're
I
doing.
think so too.
So if you could put that on the plan too, that they would be no more than 3 inches between balustrades and 2-inch balustrades and 3-inch openings.
I have that embedded in
3-inch
my
space, 2-inch
brain,
spindles.
and I have
2-inch
that
spindles.
detail
3-inch space.
for every
2-inch spindles.
house that I work on almost in Cape May.
Yes, you do.
I have a question on that. Are the railings down the steps different than the railings around the porch? They look like it from the photograph. They look almost like they're the original design
Are you talking about the front?
on the front, yeah.
Yeah, the railings on the stairs match the railings that go across the front.
Okay,
Just look heavier to me, that's all.
yeah.
Other comments, Tom?
No.
Pip?
No,
Jake?
I mean, just my comments on the air conditioner.
Yeah, I need a clarification on, in the proposed work, it says wraparound porch. I just don't, I don't see a wraparound porch
Not there.
anywhere on this. I mean, I know on your streetscape, page 15, in the center, there's a 4-square with an approved wraparound porch. So I thought I was looking at something like that, but I just don't see it. Is it there?
There is no wraparound porch, and I must say that is a typo.
Yeah. She meant protruding porch. Right? It is protruding porch. It is really not a wraparound
Yeah,
porch.
but I do like the fact that you took the addition, made it look like it was a screened-in porch that was filled in, so it really differentiates it from the historic building.
Where are we here?
I think I've managed to say all my stuff in the interim, so that's,
Gordon?
I think I've said everything.
B?
I want to say that I'm very familiar with these houses. One of my best friends lived there for years. And I know that there are a lot of restrictions with space, and I appreciate the way that you have modified this. I agree with Ed that as long as it's not seen from the street and properly landscaped, but other than that, I have I think it would be probably ideal if you could move it, but that would all depend on the expense and things like that. But
Thank you.
either way,
It's a nice street.
Can I have one more shot?
Okay.
On page 30, it looks to me like the railing that's on the staircase is much more of the original, particularly the way it ties into the column way below where the porch rails do. So that would be more the appearance that we're trying to get.
I think it is part of, we tried to
Yeah,
maintain
yeah.
that.
Uh-huh,
And I think we've,
yeah.
I've talked about that before.
so where are we headed on this?
Well, we've
Conceptual with,
done our conversation, we're ready for a motion. The motion should include the things that we just talked about. They're looking for final. Make a motion that has these couple items, and we approve it, and it becomes a resolution, so they don't necessarily have to come back.
Yes, you would, as you often do, have the final details go to review committee.
Right. So, with that,
well, I'm going to let Tom Carroll make the motion, but I assume it's a motion for final with specified conditions that will then be satisfied, and when they're satisfied, we go forward from there. So, Tom, as you only can, would you make that?
I will start in, and some people will probably add. We would like to give you approval subject to a plan that would come back to our review committee that would give you suggested options on replacing the ACs in the back of the house and changing the staircase. It would show the proper elements of trim on the dormers, which are missing on the drawings. It would also indicate any changes in exterior lighting or elements like that that will be in the backyard. It will specify casement windows versus double-hung windows where they're to be used. And
Did you do the railings?
and
wood
and
windows
the,
with the,
with the wood windows that are wood primed for exterior use, and the railings, as we have suggested, on the front porch. Match any railing system.
Which we suggested were 3-inch spacing with 2-inch spindles as a model.
Yeah.
Tom, I have a question. The new rails on the front stairs, is it going to include the porch railing too? They're going to be the same rail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh. You all understand, don't you?
I've been instructed. I've been told.
That's
Thank
why
you.
she gets the big bucks.
This is wonderful. Oh.
So we have a motion.
And since Tom has made it, I'll second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Testa.
We haven't voted yet.
We didn't vote yet.
It's called,
I feel like you're.
it's called representative democracy. We get to vote.
Okay, motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Testa. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson? Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank
boy.
you for your guidance and help. We family appreciates it.
Good luck.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Next order of business, Franceschi, sorry, 514 Elmira Street, 1054 Lot 11. This is a contributing property, a deck, and a driveway extension. Turn it on. Turn it on. No?
Oh, no, it's
There
not
you
on,
go.
okay. But you could hear me without it, right?
I could.
Yeah, I'm pretty loud. Okay. All right, first I want to say the addition is done. Record time, 3 months, done, complete, final approvals. Lou came and gave it the stamp of approval last week, and it's beautiful, and it's in keeping, we love it. It's in keeping with the historic character of the house, and we love it. We're now looking to do, and I should have put it into that proposal, and Tom did recommend that I do it, but I was a little overwhelmed, and as you all know, I am in chemotherapy it's now every 4 weeks, but it's not a lot of fun. So I'm getting ready to now address drainage, ease of use with the driveway and the back deck. What happened with the addition, when they went to do it, the mason came and he said, you know, you're below grade back here. The house, and we've known this, the house kind of slants. You know, if you go upstairs, that front bedroom, you can feel it in there, you know, it's kind of slanting backwards. And it turns out, of course, that the street, Elmira, when they put the street in, the house was already there. And so the street is higher than the house. So as it goes back, the grading goes down. And it, of course, also goes to the side, away on both sides. So we have to maintain that. So what we want to do, and it's long overdue, we have a one-car driveway. We have 3 vehicles, and we have kids that come, and we have family that come, and, you know, there's no parking to be had. So they've always parked on the grass. But what we want to do for drainage and ease of use at this point is go straight back with the brown gravel that we currently have and go to the end of the addition, which would still leave us with more grass than he wants, still 65 feet of grass. But I also have extensive gardening, as some of you probably know if you've passed by. This little purple cottage is filled with a lot of landscaping that is all my work. And I intend to go along the side of that drive and continue with the landscaping on the new addition. The other thing that we want to do is put back the back deck, but because now we wound up with a step up into the addition, we have a 6-inch step up, which means we have 2 steps down. We don't want to have drainage problems back there either. So what we're proposing to do is take that, we originally had a deck that laid flat in the back. We want to bring it up on a 2x6. 1 by 5.5 it comes out to, but they call it a 2x6, and bring the deck up that 6 inches so that any drainage will go underneath and go into my rear garden and the side garden. And basically that's it. We're looking to do 35 by 10 on the gravel and use the same materials that we have had, which is the 3/4 brown gravel. And we're looking to do pressure-treated wood, 2x6 deck. The width of the house, which is 22 feet by 13, which brings us up to my arbor and that square, very informal at this point, rear garden that we have. That's it.
Sorry, can the gentleman give me his name?
My name is Vidette.
I do.
Oh, that's Michael Franceschi.
Michael.
Michael, husband.
Thank you.
Quiet husband. Quiet husband.
I know the story.
Yes.
I don't think we have to go around the room on this. Any members of the commission have comments or questions about this application?
Well, the plan is not exactly clear for the construction office to follow.
Lou's already seen it.
Am I assuming that the gravel driveway is now going to go to the end of the new deck?
No,
No.
not the end of the new deck, the end of the addition.
They ruined our last deck. They were supposed to move it back.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so the proposed replacement,
See the dotted lines, Tom?
Is going to go behind the addition.
so, and the driveway will end at that line too?
No, here.
The driveway's going to end at the
At the
end
back
of
of the
the
house.
addition.
They're going to end at this addition.
Yeah, I'm going to end it at the end of the addition, and then there's going to be a wood deck, which you're not going to see from the street. It's going to start at the end of the addition, and it's going to go sideways behind the house, and it's going to come up to the rear garden, the square garden that I have, that's brick paths in the four corners.
I'm completely in accord with what you've done, and I understand it, but you really made me work hard to figure out that the 13 by 22-foot deck, which is expressed there, is not on the drawing, which would have helped me a lot.
Yeah, 13 by 22, it goes
I
beyond the...
well, I see it says proposed deck, and there are a lot of dotted lines.
Right.
It's just that we like to see them in one place where we can sort of say, there's a 13 by 22
Right.
deck.
It's going
But
right
I
behind
get
the
it.
addition.
I get it.
You got it, okay, thank you. Sorry.
Other questions or comments about this application? Anyone? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Stevenson. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Have a good evening, folks.
Thank you very much.
Should we shut these off? No, that's all right.
You'll only make it harder for the next guy.
Next order of business, 921 Beach Avenue, Block 1080, Lot 19. It's a key contributing property. We're going to talk about front porch posts, and newels, and railings.
Musical chairs a little bit here. Hello, I'm Maureen Egan, and this is my husband, Ed Gill. I'm the manager of 921 Cape May LLC, and with 5 of my sisters, an owner of the house at 921 Beach. When my parents bought it in 1965,
Excuse me, before we go,
I said Ed Gill.
Ed Gill, Gill.
The house had, in 1965, 8 different styles of spindles and at least 4 different railing styles, a story of storms and repairs. I know because I scraped and painted every one of them over the decades, so did he. 2 railing styles and 3 spindle styles predominate now. The impetus of this project is to replace the 6 front porch posts on each of our 2 front porches. They've been repaired and partially replaced many times, but we're starting to see that it's time to replace them. In doing so, of course, the railings, gingerbread, and frieze have to come off and then put back. And once we started looking and measuring, we realized it would make sense to bring the second floor porch railing up to code for safety. And then we also noticed that the east side railings on both porches could use the additional stability of a newel post in the center. In the initial application, I said we could have the newel posts made to match the square bases of the post style that we have now. But if you prefer, we could match a turned style with the ball on top, since we actually do have one of those on our first floor side porch that we'd kind of forgotten that we had. It's just in a place we never go. A photo of that is in your application of that newel post. So the first floor porch project is same for same with the exception of that newel post on the east side. That span is currently just under 11 feet, and there is no, it's just spindles and a rail. The second floor porch project is same for same in the sense of materials, except we propose raising the railing height from 29 inches to 36 inches for safety, which would mean then that the post bottom base would be slightly taller, and the spindles, of course, would be taller as well. And we would, again, like to add a newel post on the CMIS side for safety. As far as we can tell from photographic evidence, and I have some more pictures here if you want to see them, the spindles on the front porches have always been 1 5/8, no matter the style. I have spindles with me that were on the house. Look at this. That were on the house. We're making something out of it. That are 1 5/8, and then this is the mahogany. We've had them reproduced over the years. And I've counted in the rail section, first and second floor porch, they're 6 feet 5-inch sections, more or less. There are 18 spindles in most of our sections, and in old photographs, you can't see clearly what the style of the spindle was because they're old photographs, but you can count that there are 18. So more or less, again, I know you guys like your 2-inch ones, but it seems like we've had the skinnier ones. As the survey notes, the second floor porch was an addition. It was not original to the house. We don't know exactly when that was added. Certainly other porches on our block have drastically different railing styles on separate floors. Ours is not a drastic change. We're committed to keeping the architectural beauty of our house intact. And thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions or hear what you have to say.
One of the things, when you look at old photos of this home, in fact, the porches were quite different or almost non-existent. There is an old picture online where some people are sitting on a step.
Oh, yeah, the steps were definitely different, and the side railings, sure.
When I looked at this, when it came before review and before we came before the recommend of the full commission, it was, in fact, because these spindles look inadequate for the size and the style of the house. So,
can I pass these out? These are some older pictures, early 20th century. I have it now for everybody, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I hear you,
well, I mean, when you look at the picture of the house, I mean, it speaks for itself.
Well, that first picture on top, you can see the CMIS, when the CMIS looked, obviously it wasn't called the CMIS then.
When it looked like this.
Yeah, exactly. That clearly is a larger spindle, and not that we can, I can't tell you what the measurement was of that, but compared, you can see it particularly on the second floor porch because the shrubbery blocks the first, that ours was thinner than that. That's, I can tell you that. Now, this is, of course, the Beach Drive is a dirt road there. The one underneath, it's a little bit later because of the cars. Again, they look skinny to me. I cannot, I can't swear what the width is.
Well, the question is, and the opportunity to improve what was there, this whole porch system was not there originally when you go way back.
The second floor.
The photo that I saw as I recall, online of this house. It just had the step and the bump out showing. The
I
front
mean, I would
facade-
love to see that. I've
the
had,
front facade was quite different, actually.
there were wooden railings I don't know when they,
But at
when
any
they went
rate,
away, but
I'm sharing one opinion.
sure.
So we can open it up for questions for the commission, rather than go around the room. For me, that's what the issue is. And we need a specific plan on what we want to do with whether they're 6-by-6 corner posts or they should be round. When I look at the trim at the top, that would argue, I think, for a round post.
I'm sorry, do you mean for the newel post?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
So, at any rate,
Can we clarify, you mean so the base of the turn post is a square, and then it gets turned in the middle, right?
it could, yes?
Yeah, that's how would you want the newel post to be square at the same level?
Like that, like the one that we
Or you want
have.
it like that?
And that's fine. I
Okay.
mean, we have that.
Okay.
So that should be in your packet, I hope.
It's in the
but-
packet.
Yeah.
Oh, it was, okay. Oh,
B, I
thanks,
think it was at the
Corbin.
very end of the packet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you have to have
I
that
have
made,
it.
right?
Oh, yeah, but Turn Tech can do that. They'll do, the same place that is doing the 6-inch
Yeah.
posts, the larger
Yeah.
posts, they will do that.
So, anyway, I'll open it up for questions. You've heard my
Sure.
comments. Any other comments?
But you didn't bring that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could see that picture, because I'm not aware of that
Oh,
picture.
It wouldn't help, because the front end is quite different. Somewhere at the turn of the century, this house was modified with these porches.
Well, one thing we do know is that the latest,
But that's not the point. I'm not asking for it to be returned to that.
well,
What I'm suggesting,
we'll never figure out what it was, but I think we won't. But the latest survey that we have is 2013. And the 2013 survey characterizing the building characterizes it with essentially what we have here now. So I'm not so sure that what's being submitted here, which is a replication of what you have here now, isn't the best thing to do, even though objectively we think could have been beefier, could have been this, could have been that. So I'm given your attention to this detail and the fabrication that you have to have done, because you're doing this all as custom work, piece by piece. I'm willing to go with your choice of the spindles that match what you're trying to match, given the elongated second floor. I'm a little concerned how that's going to look raised.
Well, that was my question for you all, and that's what
Yeah.
Judy had mentioned that the 1 5/8, was a concern, so.
It's
we
the
were
height.
wondering, Yeah, if you're willing, because we had no idea if the 36-inch, raising the railing was something that you would go for. So if it would make people happier, obviously, if we raise the railing, everything on that porch is brand new. There's no reusing any old spindles there, because they have to be a different height. If those would be 2-inch, I don't know if you would, maybe that would look better, because, there is going to be, it's not that big of a difference, but there will be an.
Well, you're growing 7 inches, right, from the.
Yeah, it's
You've got to get,
30, it depends.
Will it not look strange to have 36-inch spindles on the second floor and shorter ones on the first when you look at the facade of the house?
Well, you can look on Beach Drive, and I have a lot of pictures if you want to see those too. Every house has.
Right now, they're the same.
Oh, in our
Yeah,
house.
and my mind prefers to see them remain the same, so that unless you're forced to go higher, I think I'd have a lot of difficulty with a short, large combination.
Well,
You said you're doing that for your personal safety.
yes.
The construction office hasn't said.
Oh, no,
If you
no.
touch those, they kind of come up to
We haven't dealt with that. I mean, we didn't get that far. So we now rent, I mean, my family, obviously, none of us have fallen off it over the years. We're used to it. But we now, that my sisters and I own it, we do rent the house several weeks, all according to city rules. And we are concerned about, and we have a waiver, Mr. Gillen Schwartz, we had asked him to come up with a waiver for renters to sign, but, it's a historic structure, and it's not up to code, and the railings and the stairways, whatnot. But we are, I mean, I don't want to test that.
Yep. Well, small point. I also agree, though, that reinforcing with an extra newel post on the sides makes a lot of sense for an 11-foot run.
Right.
When you're concerned with spindles. So to me, that's a good suggestion in terms of reinforcing the railings. But I'm kind of in a quandary about having two different size railings.
Well, I will note, and again, I have more pictures if you want, that on our block, many of the houses have two different size railings. I'm not saying it probably wasn't approved by you, it happened over the years, but certainly the house that was raised on Beach, not the Cape Escape, but the one that was raised a couple years ago, they have something different every 3 floors. Anyhow, there's others as well. So again, I mean, I appreciate that. But the other part of our porch, the second floor, is it does have a little bit of a slope, so the water drains. And so it gives you the feeling when you're standing. I mean, 29 is low.
Yeah,
But, we all.
by today's standard.
Yeah, and so then, but because of the slope, it is, if you're afraid of heights, you do not like that. So anyhow, if we didn't, we would like to do that, if it's possible, and we're open to, some adjustment if we need to.
I'll make a suggestion.
Sure.
You're going to spend an awful lot of money raising that whole railing system and all the custom work you're going to do. Congress Hall faced the same dilemma with all those little balconies that had very low rails. And very discreetly, they did, with little standards and a fairly thin black metal bar system.
And you would let that?
I didn't
Oh.
I didn't say I love it, but actually, it kind of goes out of your view, and it's also reversible. And if you like sitting on your porch and
Right.
looking out over the ocean, you're not looking at this bar right
Right.
here and
Right.
trying to fight that.
Well, we certainly have sat there trying to imagine what we could do in various, and thinking they'll never let us do that. So, I mean.
And Congress Hall is a key structure, too.
And the same builder,
I don't
same
care.
builder built.
Well,
our house.
because let's get into the iron bars thing.
Fall
It's
under
not.
the table.
If Tom Carroll's on my side, I feel good.
In terms of your second
This is
floor
a-
rail,
This is an important house on the beach.
how far off the second floor porch is the bottom rail?
What is it?
It's 3.5 inches.
So if you dropped that a little bit, just to allow clearance for water, you could make up some of the difference of a higher rail.
But they're worried about people flipping over it.
Well, the whole thing will be a little taller.
We still.
It'll still be taller. It'll still be 4 or 5 inches
The
taller.
rule was changed because everybody was sleepwalking, and they'd go out on the,
Well, and there were short people.
Right.
that was part of the argument.
Well, I mean, I don't know whether it would be appropriate, but the addition of, say, like a wooden planter box or something to make up the difference, I don't know whether that would distract from the rail system or it would be appropriate.
Kind of in the center of each rail.
You could even have it go where, a child couldn't get through, to have gaps, wide enough that there wouldn't be gaps.
And then we'd have to have plants, you're saying.
Just throwing that out there.
And then, because they're in a planter box, they have to be watered every
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
Sure. I know.
That would be,
It seems to me, this is an important beachfront house, and we ought to try to accommodate the 36-inch for safety and things. The comments, I would agree, is that if you raise the top, you ought to raise the bottom. And when you do that, what already appears narrow for the scale of the house, it just seems like we would need a beefier balustrade. If you want to raise it, it becomes even thinner looking. So Pip, you haven't said anything. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm surprised that nobody has said it has to be the 36 inches high, because usually that's what they say.
Well, it was done, so,
No, in my house, they made me make.
Yeah, when you make a renovation like this, I think.
It hasn't been touched in a long time, I presume, and you have a waiver from, a waiver you're having people sign to
Yeah,
reduce your liability.
Right.
I mean, our insurance company will probably be very happy with us, to have 36, I would have to assume.
Pip,
But
to
I
your,
don't know exactly, I mean, I only know my own experience, which doesn't really count. And I don't know, what would, I mean, I can appreciate about the safety, I can understand that. But I don't even know, I mean, sometimes people do things a little differently, like which you could not do on this house, so I'm not making this.
Yeah, no, I don't,
But, they put like a wood
right, an extra rail.
down the bottom, and then the balustrades don't seem so tall. or
Right.
Whatever, but I don't think that would be at all appropriate on this
To
house.
change the rails, yeah, we're not.
Right, and that's not what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting, but I don't know what all, I mean, Tom said what they did at Congress Hall, or
Yeah.
if there would be a way of
I don't think iron bars are going to do it.
thinking about how this could be and still meet safety codes, but still be appropriate for the house.
If you went to, and you're going to be making this all up, and the difference between the shorter rail and a 36 in terms of production cost is going to be very small, could you go to 36 all around, front and top and bottom?
Well, our plan, I mean, we do not have unlimited budget, so our thinking was, again, we did not know, and we still don't know, we don't have if the 36 was approved for the second, those rails and balusters, some of them are newer than others. Some on the second floor porch, some could be then just dropped down and used if we need to replace one
Right.
on the first floor. And again, it's not like we think we need to replace every.
But you'll be replacing columns, all columns.
Oh,
When you take those rails off from the columns, you're going to find that there's some fair amount of destruction on the rails themselves.
Well, some are newer than others. So, I mean.
I guess in a house this age, that's true. So you're saying you're going to redeploy, you were planning on redeploying?
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
I'm not
I
saying-
get it.
So I mean, my choice would be that we do 36 on the second floor. If you want us to go thicker spindle, a 2-inch there to sort of make it trick your eye, perhaps, that it's not this skinny, it's super skinny at that point. And then on the first floor, we really weren't trying to replace, except, whatever we're going to have to do on that long CMUS side rail because of the newel post, some of that is, the spindles probably will be replaced. But we were hoping, again, knowing that what you say, of course, some things are
I'm
going to happen.
sorry, I really just can't get my head around two different size spindles on the house.
no, and this is.
Two
a
heights.
key-
Well,
this is-
we've had
Let's not forget, this is a key contributing house.
I've got more. This is not all.
Right.
So anyhow, all of this, there are lots of ones here, but that is not on our block, but the rest of them are.
You're talking about an extension rail on the top?
Well, that is certainly what they did there, a very different house.
Yeah, like they did that, right?
But there are,
Well, yeah.
Oh, what did John Millman do?
so again, the Jesuits is just nothing. But it looks like clearly on this house, there's everything different. I mean, there's every
Right, but-
possibility.
Right, but understand that we're really not here to try and reconcile the other houses. What we're here doing is trying to pass on an application that may affect the status of a key contributing
Sure.
structure. Okay,
Sure.
so the fact is that,
I don't think that's what she's asking.
well, but that may be
I'm
the
just trying
effect.
to visualize.
That may be the effect. That's. what
I'm trying to get visual information that, again, I don't know. I measured everybody's bottom rail, because, I didn't want to trespass too much. I didn't go in anybody's, but there are various sizes on some of these heights here.
That's a nice model.
Yeah, but that's.
What's that?
So what about the Jesuits House?
Oh, that was just, I mean, it's just, there's nothing particular, it's just, there it is.
That's one of the
They
best
seem slightly different to me, to my eye, they look, width-wise, they look different to me.
Well, they have a real strong top rail on it.
Right.
And that helps a lot.
Yeah,
The
so-
bottom rail can be a little bit heavier too, so you don't have that much visible difference in the spindles down below. and
That's not
up
an
top.
1 5/8 spindle, though.
No.
No, of course, yeah, I mean, that's, I think they've always had very heavy ones.
When I started this, as I said, this came before us in review, and a key contributing house, I think we need a stronger system. It should match top and bottom. Whatever we do on one floor
Okay.
should be done on the second floor. And I would support increasing to the 36-inch top and bottom, and a stronger, this appears to be almost 3-inch. I mean,
Oh, well, that's a different house, and our house has
Yeah.
never had that, so, yeah.
But, and I think you'd be pleased with much happier with the end product if you
Well-
went with a 2-inch spindle.
The trick here is, though, I've only asked for, we were only talking about the first and second, the front porches, and we have a whole side porch. And I guess my, knowing that the house over the years has had, and it still does, has 3 different kinds of spindles. I mean, growing up, the one side of the house had one style, probably 2 intermixed, and over here was this, this style. And it was a key contributing house under those circumstances. I mean, that's when I think 68 was when the first survey was done. That's what was on the house. This and 3 or 4 other ones there, a couple ones on the side. We have a balustrade in the back. I mean, that's totally different. And so it's never, well, I can't say never, but never, to my knowledge or visual inspection, always had one style throughout.
Well,
So
we're only
I'm
talking
not-
about the front of the house.
Yeah, okay, that's what I want to, because I don't want to be replacing.
And we're talking about reconciling things so that you won't increase the number of different types if they all go to 36.
Well,
What-
the
what
other issue, though, right, is because when we do, if we go to 36, the posts change, obviously, for the rail to fit in the right place and the
Yeah.
amount of turning. So to me, by changing it on the first and the second floor, we're taking, either way, we're changing something that was key, right. I mean, I can't swear that the post style, but I think they've been there, in that style for as long as, into the early 20th century. So I guess my plan was to change it as, at least, to do the second floor porch. The turning will be different, it has to be.
You're not helping your argument,
Yeah.
though, because now you have a different post on the second floor.
I mean, our
Well,
job.
right, but
But our job is to see and monitor the proposed changes and see that those changes don't impair the key contributing status of the building. And I think that if we are suggesting that 36-inch rails on first and second floor be for your 36-inch rails, if we suggest that, then, and we approved that, then we would believe that that would not change the status of the building.
Right. My question is, I understand. Yeah, no, I see. However, I'm confused because our side porch, our front porch goes into the side porch. So how does that, if you're saying, you're saying, you see on the round, it's not the seamless side, it's the other side. It's a round, it's not quite a complete radius, but, so at some point, then there's a transition, and that is, so,
Is the transition visible from Beach Avenue?
Well, the problem is
Sure.
is the first 8 feet or 10 feet, however deep the porch is,
10, yeah.
and you would want to do 36-inch all the way back on that side, wherever that porch ends.
I'm trying to think, I guess we could go to that balustrade, we have to get a new one, but that turned turned newel post, sorry. That is where it changes anyhow. I think, and certainly that is not visible from the street, nobody, that would not be, it already changes into a separate kind of look.
So the first 10 feet or whatever it is, down the side, would match the front.
Yeah, we could, I mean, you tell me what the number is,
And then I'm assuming that there's a post right about at the same
There is a
level as the
yeah,
house.
There's a post on the side there,
Right.
yeah,
So if
to
you,
that point.
if you worked to that point, that would solve,
Okay,
that would give you an ending.
okay, okay.
And so 36 and 36, change that to 2-inch, and
And this style is okay, that's-
They tended years ago to be a little bit bulkier than that, but,
But that turning is okay?
yeah,
but, from your pictures, they're close enough together that you don't get the, the see-through.
oh, yeah.
The whole idea is you're looking at as much wood as you are opening. And that's how we've tried to space them, so.
Well, ours are
Still
3
get in
inches.
there with paintbrushes and things like that.
That's important. They are 3 inches apart now, but, so they would be less than 3 inches presumably.
No, you could do
Or
2
you'd have
inches with
fewer,
3
I
inch
suppose.
space, so, yeah.
Okay, so the turned, let me just make sure, the turned with the ball on top for the newel, both sides, you're good. 36, and the turned posts, the taller posts then are, obviously you're fine with, they are different because the gingerbread on the second floor porch is smaller than the gingerbread on the first, by a couple of inches. I mean, it already, so the posts are slightly different on each, but we just match, what we need to match. And then we go around to that next post on the side, you're saying,
And give it a nice, strong top rail.
which we have, I mean, you guys have the pictures, but, they're the solid, well, what would you call that rail? It's a common,
It's 3.5 inches thick with
Yeah.
turn top and molding
A rounded off top.
around the
yes,
top.
yeah,
Which
that's
is
what we
good,
have.
because people don't tend to try to sit on a round.
Oh, I do. We get yelled at for my father used to yell at. Okay. We can make that happen.
So I think what we would really need to do is ask for you to come back with drawings that reflect all that. And we could probably do that in committee.
yeah.
So what does that mean? When, I'm sorry, in another meeting? I mean, we just drove up from Richmond
Bring your
today,
final
so-
plan to Judy, and it will not require you to come before the full.
Oh, thank you.
It can be approved
In session,
a
or,
review committee,
okay.
assuming that it comes back.
Yeah,
as-
and says
as
what
we
you-
talked about.
right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it comes back here again.
And do you have in terms of the ball, the newel post, if we just copy, I mean, obviously it would be taller because of 36,
The one in
but,
that picture is absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, so if we just do that, then you're good. So whatever the measurement of that ball is, okay, yeah, I just want to get that.
And then, and the railings that are tying into that too also have that, look like the 3.5 inch.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the rail we have, yeah.
Can I make one more suggestion to you?
Yeah, sure.
It should be this post here. When you cut these things on the bottom, do a V.
They're notched, yeah, all the rails are like that, yeah, that's how
Well,
it,
the bottom rail,
yes, that's what I
bottom
mean,
rail.
yeah.
You'll
Yeah,
increase-
that's what we do.
Increase your life and longevity of those for.
Yeah,
many years.
yeah, no, it's always,
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
it's always in my lifetime, so that's good.
And you're making them of mahogany, you said?
Yeah,
so,
And to be sure you end prime them, too.
oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
so at this point, what I would suggest, a little bit different, is we table this until the applicant comes back with a plan.
Does that work?
For the review
As
committee.
we discussed,
Does
Nick
that work?
approved in review.
Okay.
A motion to table and then it goes to the review committee? Would you just grant final subject to conditions?
Well,
Some things go to review committee without even that.
I'm sorry? I don't get it.
No, we can't table and not have a resolution. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to do everything you said, so.
approve it for final, subject to the plan review.
I mean, I'm willing to grant the review committee any discretion it needs for the final stuff, but
I was trying to save a long-winded motion, but
but that's okay
Evidently we can't.
because you're going to make that motion anyway.
Do I have a-
No, but I'll make the motion if you, but I think we should do final subject to conditions with review committee being the arbiter of those points. So I would make a motion to approve the application and final, subject to conditions, those conditions being the use of 36-inch spindles on the first and second floor, the location of the work to be from point to point, as we've discussed, the inclusion, as you mentioned before, of the reinforcing newel posts to hold those positions, and the use of, I guess, the railings to be, do we specify a width in the 36-inch, at least 2-inch spindles, turnings to match what you have here? What about columns? Columns to be what you submitted, except proportional to the height from the two porches. What am I missing?
Can I just clarify? You said 36-inch spindles?
Spindles.
Do you mean
36-inch height, 36 height, sorry. 36-inch spindles, my error. 36 height to the rail, making whatever the spindle length be that has to be to fit that 36-inch height. Sorry.
Top and bottom rails at least 3.5 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, that would be same.
But help me out here. What else am I missing? Anything else? And
Actually, Maureen almost made the motion for us. We should have just copied that.
yeah, but that being the motion and the submission of the amended materials to pass in front of the review committee, which will have the authority to grant to satisfy the conditions. Okay, good.
Yeah, well, they're the spindles, see?
My, how
Do
you
it.
grow.
I think that was a motion, Judy. You probably will edit it down when you write it, but.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
No one
I
liked it?
second it.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
you
And
very
you can
much.
keep those photos, you can use it for your training.
Would be good.
Listen to your meetings.
You notice we need some training.
You want to do some training.
Next order of business is Moore, 1106 New Jersey Avenue.
Good night.
Block 1115, Lot 4. This is a non-contributing building, and it's rooftop solar panels. You've had a long evening to wait for this.
Oh, my Lord. Guys, because when I gave the package to Judith, she suggested that
Thank you.
pictures from street level, we're in a non-contributing hotel zone, and they aren't going to be visible from the street. I know you guys don't want to see it like that, right? So I think this falls into that category. I tried to organize the pictures, but my computer skills aren't that great, so there's 3 shots from New Jersey Avenue, center, right, and left, and there's 3 shots from Beach Avenue, center, right, and left.
We need names.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by.
Excuse me, before we,
Go ahead.
we need your name and relationship to the
IDs.
property, and we need names here.
I'm Rick Moore, and this is my wife, Emmy, and we own the property at 1106 New Jersey Avenue.
James Leo, RCL Solar.
Thank you.
It seems to me, this, I'll just go, it's somewhat simple. We would like to put solar panels on the rear, only the rear of our house. Our house faces New Jersey. We're on the south side of New Jersey, right next to the Icona.
The home is
Hotel.
surrounded by the Icona, which is taller, the Philadelphia condominiums on the Beach Avenue side, which is taller, and the Buckingham Motel. The panels aren't visible from the street. And you do have the spec sheets, you should have the spec sheets on the panels and everything that we're using.
Again, we looked at this in review, but as you recall, all solar panel installations in the historic district have to come before the full commission. And so that's what brings us here today. And unfortunately, you were last, or almost last on the agenda, so you had to sit through all this.
We were last.
Dead last, yeah.
Dead last.
But just as
I think
dead as if
we
you've been
just
first
made
all
the
along.
deadline.
Well, thank
That's why we're last, is because we just made the deadline for our submission, so we're last on the docket.
So I would open it up to the commission members if you have questions. I think the page you want to look at is this one. It shows the solar panels on the rear.
I'm sorry, James, could you give me your last name again?
Leo, Leo.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
To me, this seems pretty straightforward. We approved them on the roof of the Icona, as I remember, not all that long ago, and our rationale was that they weren't visible from the street. This is on the back of the house. There's no way this is seen other than by helicopter. I don't have, and I assume that these are all from the specs standard and you're fulfilling all other code aspects with respect to windworthiness, blah, 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 so that it's a standard installation. I have no further questions.
Anyone? Questions? Do I have a motion?
Did we ever question whether visibility from windows of higher buildings around it is an issue rather than just streetscape? And I'm not trying to make it an issue, but I don't think we've ever looked at that angle of it.
No, but we've done a lot of things and approved a number of things that were visible from an elevated window. So,
Hpc City Hall, visible from Victorian Towers?
Yeah, only drones and helicopters need to worry about this one. I would move that we, if there's no other comment, I'd move that we grant final approval to the application as it's presented.
do I have a second?
I will second that and add to it that this is being approved only because there is no visible area 360 degrees around this building that there would be visible to the public.
That's all dicta. All dicta.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Bisagno? Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Was that worth a wait?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
and whoever produced these things of enlarged size, and maybe it was Judy and maybe it was the applicant, seeing these at the end of the night helps my eyes an awful lot.
Well, I had to get the girls in the office to print that, because I can't print that at home.
This is a beautiful enlargement.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Open to the public. Judy, would you give the telephone number for
Can't, no call-ins.
calling?
Got to be here. Got to be here.
No one from the public?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll close the discussion to the public. Hpc application form. I'm sure you would all like to hear a long presentation about the details of that.
But you won't allow that.
But maybe a better idea, Corbin and Jim have put together, I think, a really thoughtful application and instruction sheet and material list. And Bob and I looked at it and agreed that it's really a strong first effort. And at this point, what I would suggest, rather than prolonging a discussion, that it be distributed to all the HPC members. And I would ask you to provide feedback to Jim and Corbin of changes that you might, or questions that you might have. And then at the next meeting, hopefully they'll be able, if you get back to them quickly, they'll be able to consolidate
Right.
those issues and bring it forward, and then we can make a motion for approval. Bob, as I say that, though, when we change an application and the communications and all that, does it require us to go beyond the HPC?
No.
We should be in control of our own papers, except where
Yeah.
they collide with something else. I will try to put this out in the next day or so. You'll be receiving DocX, Word documents, and you can get back comments any way you like, including marking on them or just simply trying to make changes if you know how to do, track changes and sending to me with track changes. I'll try to consolidate and reconcile what you sent back, and hopefully we'll have something we can work with by the next meeting.
I think you agree. It's a strong effort, and thank you, Jim, thank you for the work. And hopefully
This is probably going to be highly unpopular, so forgive me, but.
Well, you mean just because it sounds like it was written by a lawyer?
No, not because it sounds like it was written by a lawyer. But what I was going to say is I'm wondering if anyone showed it to just some ordinary people to see what they would think.
Well, you can sort of judge that when you look at it. In point of fact, the application itself has changed very little, except for things that we have added on in terms of verification under contributing and key contributing with respect to the samplings. It's the instructions that are, well, right, but the fact is that at present, we have no real instructions except notes, and they're general and non-specific. So we have stuff going on, non-conforming and mistaken and things like that simply are really unacceptable for applications coming in. I think what it is going to involve, assuming you all like some of it and adopt it, it's going to involve some difficult work on the part of the incoming, review. The secretary, the staff of the HPC is going to have to look at those applications to see that they follow the instructions. But Pip, there are a lot of instructions. You'll see them tomorrow.
I'm not arguing anything anybody's done, and I haven't seen it anyway. What I was trying to suggest is, since before everybody has said what's mostly changed, is to put in instructions, that maybe it would be good to ask the people who have to follow the instructions if the instructions make sense to them.
Well,
but it doesn't have to be done that way.
Yeah, well, you might want to see if they make sense to you.
I'm sure it makes sense.
And the other thing that
But I'm not an ordinary person.
not going to argue with that. Not going to argue with that in the slightest. The other thing that is missing, and I'm sorry, Warren, for carrying this on longer than maybe we wanted to, but aside from just instructions, part of the packet we'll be proposing is a handout that's called Introduction to the Hpc and Its Process. So it's a short handout, and it's an introduction to what we do and how things work in a 2-page summary.
I'm sure it's perfect.
Well, it's not perfect because Bob Feinberg will find things he's got to say about it, but nonetheless. Anyway, tomorrow or the next day, you'll see clean copies for you to look at and give comments back.
And then at our next monthly meeting, Pip, if you still have that issue, then we can discuss it then.
Okay. All right.
Can you give us more than a week to get them done?
Sure. I mean, the difficulty is going to be how extensive the suggestions are and whether they're reconcilable.
Yeah.
right? I mean, because you got a guy going this way and I going this way, what do you do to put it together? But I can turn around, provided that, you know, that I get a reasonable lead time. I can turn around your stuff in a day or two. So, yeah, I mean, a couple weeks, would that work for comments?
I think more than a couple weeks, then it'll be forgotten and you won't get your feedback, so.
2 weeks.
Yeah, within 2 weeks, you
Okay.
should be able to find time.
That-
The document is not that long, although it is comprehensive. Okay, so we're in agreement. It'll be distributed, read it, feedback, back to Jim. Bylaws.
This is going to be an Evers to Tinkers to Chance play, because when last heard from Janice Stridick asked me if I would take that on because it required the legal expertise of someone who's familiar with bylaws and how to write them and how to change them. So I will do that and intend to do it right after we get the application stuff out the door. But I've asked Judy to actually go and give me a raw master because we simply don't have a doc file for it. And the two conversions have been very poor when I started on them months ago. So it's coming. It's going to come after the application form with Bob's input, because I would never want to write a sense of bylaws on my own.
Okay.
Jim, you just said there's two different versions.
Well, no, I tried twice to do conversion from a scan, of an optical scan.
There's only one bylaws
No, yeah.
document.
Exactly, and that's the one you're going to give me a master of.
Okay, thank you.
And then Pip, update on the HPC design standards.
So we've formed a committee, and we're having a meeting on the 25th. And when we meet, the objectives of the meeting are for people to have reviewed these documents, these 3 design guidelines, design standards. In other communities, they're called guidelines. But anyway, these 3 things, and see what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to write the RFP. Lorraine contacted the city clerks in a number of communities asking for them to send copies of their RFP, which I thought was a very good idea. So we'll have that and be able to think about what we're writing and what we're going to recommend to be written. So that's the purpose of that meeting. And these things will be done by a contractor. So that's what we're looking at, is this initial work that has to be done so that you can get the lowest bid to be the person, that you can get a highly qualified person to also be a bidder that will meet the amount of money that's available. That's it in a nutshell.
And the committee is interesting, and thank you, Pip, for pulling that together. And interestingly enough, from zoning, the chair of the zoning board is part of the committee. So I think that'll be helpful going forward. Any other issues or questions coming before this August group?
Preservation Awards. Janice and I have been talking about that. She's not down much because her house is rented all the time. So we've been exchanging ideas on the phone, kind of playing off what we did in 2005, but updating it a little bit more. We've always recognized best restoration for a commercial building, private home, best new construction, a lot of different categories there. We were even thinking if we could do it without too much fuss is try to recognize some builders and architects who have performed excellent, not becoming an Angie's List or something like that, but we certainly have had some wonderful plans, easy to read, presented before us, that we wouldn't mind giving a little recognition to that as well. Gives them some customers and also make our life easier. So I think when we get into September, and we thought the best time to do that would be in the spring of the year, as I think the town's coming back to life. We used to have a National Preservation Month, but it doesn't seem to be the most biggest thing on the calendar anymore. But that was May, I think it was May, Preservation Month. So I think that's the time we're shooting for. So I think we'll get settled into that and come up with some pretty good recommendations for you.
And the plaque, or what are you thinking?
A plaque for the building is probably what we're thinking.
Because when you talk about that number, as opposed to just one, a plaque about, I don't know, say 12 by 12 metal, you know, the kind that is black with a gold writing or something, is about $150. So,
We actually used a local potter to make the,
yes, I know, and we won't,
Did you say a local potter?
potter,
yeah.
As in pots?
potter, yeah. There's
She
a
made
plaque.
ceramic ones,
It was ceramic,
but it didn't really work out, I think.
no.
Okay.
You turned the screw too tight, and
It,
That's because Skip wouldn't take you.
it didn't.
got-
It didn't work out. So,
I did get a brochure from the hardware store in Stone Harbor of the plaque that they use, that they order it through that hardware store. Not that they would do that, but I'll be happy to pass on that manufacturer to Tom. I have the brochure in my office.
okay.
And that's what it is, Warren, they're metal.
well, I
Maybe,
mean,
you know,
I don't mean
first
to-
place in, or the top recognition and runners-up, all invited to come to one of our meetings, and before we start the meeting, we recognize people,
Oh, that's a joy.
see how many want to come to the meeting.
Press release
But
with
it-
photos.
I'm so glad this landed on you and
but if we
Janice.
just to back up, if we start doing new construction and rehab and this and that, and architects and builders, I mean, it diminishes, it will eventually diminish the award. So it
But it
should,
allows us to reinforce people and to, like, kind of showcase people who are doing the right thing. And maybe other people will figure out, oh, I should copy them.
yes, but we don't necessarily, my point was, though, we don't necessarily want to get to the point of having to recognize all those categories every year. If,
Oh, no.
We haven't done this since 2005, so we're,
are you
A little time to make up.
suggesting that I'm suggesting once every 10 years?
it'd be better than what we've been doing.
Yeah, that would be better, right?
All right. Anything else?
These appeal papers in our packet, I take it we have another one coming up?
Yes,
The local hotel.
the locale
Yeah, we have,
is coming up on the 25th.
right.
And Bob and I will be there. Bob will say something, and I won't. And I would expect, this is a little bit of a different appeal, because it was their plan, as opposed to something that we denied that they want to have approved. I mean, it was their plan.
They didn't follow their plan.
Yeah, so it's a bit different than a normal appeal. But we probably shouldn't say any more than that about it tonight. So,
Bob, there were numerous visits of HPC members. I think you and Dave went over and spoke with them. Zach and I went over and had tried to be a cordial meeting with them, and all they wanted to do was say, it's already done. We like it this way. There was no sense of cooperation whatsoever. And those clamshells are always out all over the sidewalk for all the barefoot people onto the beach.
Cutting up the bicycle.
Yep,
Yep.
so as I said, though, if you want to make sure that Bob has all the information, just send him a note or something.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
It's just a question, though. Has there been any further communication with respect to the what we might think was the misapplication of the standard of review in prior cases, discussions with, I don't know, the mayor, the zoning board chair, anything else to?
Yes. Bob and Rich King and Chris Gillings got together and wrote a rather long, detailed description of the role and responsibility of the zoning board handling of an appeal from the HPC. And I would suggest that we provide a copy to each member of the HPC.
It's a public document, right? So it's no,
Yeah, it's been distributed to the zoning board.
Right.
already.
But I mean, it's nothing to do with attorney-client privilege or anything like that. I'd be interested in seeing it, because I think they've just been misfiring.
As recently as today, I talked to Chris. I'm a little bit disappointed. It is instructional, it is detailed, but as you know, I asked for censure, and there is no criticism in there. There is no pushback, in my estimation. But it is detailed and it is specific. I'm also disappointed that it was distributed 2 weeks ago to the zoning board, but I only became aware of it a couple days ago. So, of the final product, which also speaks to.
So, but they consider it a zoning board document, I take it,
Yeah.
right? So they have authorship of it. It's their decision what to include and what not to include in it.
No, it's.
City document?
It's a city document. Chris.
So instructions from the solicitor to the,
Chris is the final author, and so it is from the city to zoning.
Excuse me, Warren. So it will be distributed to HPC?
Yes.
Thank you.
I move we adjourn.
Seconded.
the ayes have it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Warren.